It's story time. I have a really sad one today. Once upon a time, there was an old man. I mean, super old. He was so old that all the people called him the Ancient of Days. He proclaimed himself to be a good old man. At least people said he claimed that. Lots of people involved there because the stories about Ancient had been handed down from generation to generation. Truthfully, nobody had ever admitted to seeing the Ancient of Days. Not in the days or not in the nights. He was apparently invisible. He couldn't actually be seen. Except, of course, when he could. There are contradictory stories about that. Anyway, they said he professed to be good. But that becomes contradictory too because the way people described Ancient didn't really make him sound good. Not at all. Ancient supposedly loved everybody. He even promised that someday he was going to build fancy houses for anybody who wanted one. He was the richest old guy who ever existed, so he could do it if he wanted. Ancient was the ancestor of all the people who ever lived. They all came from his loins, so he was the great-great-whatever-grandpa of the whole human race. Therefore, everybody was supposed to love him. He gave them life. And having given humans life, he made demands on them. Because he was way back there in their ancestry and the first of his kind, he felt that all his descendants should do as he said. He basically demanded that all people live their lives not for themselves, but for him. Ancient said that everything in the world was made for him. It was all for his benefit and his pleasure. Everybody else's life was unimportant. Ancient's descendants were expected to ignore their own desires and sometimes their own needs in order to give Ancient what he thought he deserved, and he thought he deserved everything. Now that would have been bad enough, but Ancient was like a cruel godfather. If people refused to give him their money or their time or their energy, he broke some legs. Actually did more than break legs. He murdered people and sometimes even murdered their infant children just to punish the people who wouldn't give him the honor he demanded. Once he got angry and killed almost everybody, even little babies and pregnant women. And kittens and puppies, too. He made sure to save some bed bugs and cockroaches and other creepy crawly things. He had to make sure, to keep some stuff around to irritate people so they would know he meant business. Some say Ancient threatened to burn up everybody eventually if they didn't do what he said. And he deliberately was unclear in his instructions, saying some stuff in metaphoric language so that most people couldn't understand. Because deep down, Ancient enjoyed the aroma of burning flesh. He didn't really want to give fancy houses to everybody, so he made sure that they didn't understand, and wouldn't be able to do what he wanted so he could burn most of his descendants. But here's the strange part of this story. People love this guy. It's incredible, and nobody knew for sure that he even existed. People just believed crazy stories about him that were handed down. And some of the stories, as I've said, were horribly evil. And many of them defied nature. But for some reason, people believed him anyway. Also, nobody knew for sure, even if Ancient did exist, that he was their great-great-whatever-grandpa. If he existed, maybe other grandpas existed too. Maybe many of the people came from a different grandpa. But people wouldn't even consider that thought. Furthermore, people didn't know whether Ancient would keep the promises he made. They didn't know him from Adam. And some stories about him showed him to be a liar and a deceiver. Moreover, it was obvious that Ancient was evil and self-centered. All he cared about was being worshipped. That was quite obvious because he allowed and even commanded all kinds of evil behaviors. But it was giving him his due that was important to him. Finally, Ancient demanded that his children turn their backs on their own close family members in order to give him what he wanted. People had to throw their family under the bus for Ancient. He had to be top dog in everything. So people tortured others in his name, thrust swords through them, burned them at the stake, declared them to be heathens and not worthy of land ownership or the right to participate fully in society. Ancient made laws for the people, but then told them to break the laws. For instance, he said not to kill, and then told them to kill even little babies. He told them not to covet and steal, and then insisted that they kill their neighbors and steal their land that they obviously coveted. Yet despite all this, people flocked to Ancient. He somehow convinced them that they were doing good and when they murdered and robbed others, and they bowed down before him. They gave him their money. They gave him their dreams. They lived their lives only to serve Ancient. They denied themselves in every way possible, as he told them they couldn't be his disciples if they didn't deny themselves. So they even denied their own sense of reason and logic to trust in his strange and sometimes cruel words. And they thought all of this was normal and good and sane and even on a higher plane of morality. And it wouldn't become beautiful even if Ancient were a higher being than humans. Say a more evolved human or a demigod or even the Most High God. In fact, I think it would be even more gross and disgusting. Any being, and particularly an all-knowing one who completely understands human nature and is supposedly love himself, who demands love, devotion, and worship, doesn't deserve it, and especially when he threatens punishment if he doesn't get his every wish and requires people to shed innocent blood in order to make him happy. But people are fearful. They'll go against everything they know to be good and true in order to escape pain and suffering, or to be loved and acknowledged by a powerful or charismatic leader. So they allowed Ancient to take everything from them, including their own integrity, their own reasoning abilities, and their own love and devotion to their children and other family members. It's the saddest story ever told. Thank you for watching. Bye.